Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. Sorry for not appearing on camera, but it was easier, I thought, to do it this way because I'm going to use my phone. Hopefully I can play YouTube videos, audio, easier than having to find it. So, as you know, next week is World Autism Acceptance Week, and I plan to send Alina's help letter then to the Prime Minister, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who does the funding, the Secretary of Department for Education, their shadow, Keir Starmer, Director of Child Services, East Sussex, and a few others, SEN, and a few others that are linked to it. And today I got a letter that the school obviously have put the application, and I thought the 20 weeks started with them actually gathering whatever they're doing, but the actual 20 weeks starts now when the local authority are given the request. So, and she's going to give us a reply by May, I think this is May the 1st, is it? How many weeks is that? That seems short, but well, no, that is not the 20-week end. That's whether the information that I send them and the information they get from the school, whether they decide that they want to do an assessment. So that takes us to week 6, I believe. So then, by the time this is done, Alina's first year at mainstream primary school, reception year, luckily it's only reception, will have been wasted. But imagine, there's not all children, autism, ASD, Asperger's are picked up as quickly as Alina's. We're very lucky that it was picked up very quickly, because if you read online, there's lots of people that get to 5, get to 6, get to 7, some people even to old age before they pick it up. So imagine you lose a whole year. Losing a year in reception, well, you could say, well, that's not too bad compared to, say, year 1 or year 2 or year 3 or year 4. But still, it's the building of that. So what confused me was the letter I got from the council seemed to suggesting that, and there's always the way, this is the thing that really frustrates me with people of power, people of authority, people who, have all the power, how they make their arguments as if, that this isn't really necessary. Just do carry on. It's like, I don't feel the care or concern. Almost as if there's not really a problem. That's what I get from this letter. I don't want to read it all out because, this is someone's personal letter to me. I don't know. But there's bits where it talks about research shows that children with SEN who attend their local mainstream educational setting with their peers do achieve the best in the long run, which is why I want Alina to stay there. I don't know whether that's an actually accurate fact, because unfortunately there's no, point to say where this research has been gained from. Anyone can write anything and say anything. I mean, just because they're in a position of power doesn't mean they're going to tell the truth, as we've seen from the recent Boris Johnson Partygate inquiries and many other politicians and leaders and people in power over the years. So it's always nice if they have a bit of research to say, this is where they can prove that point. But what it seems to be suggesting to me from reading this letter, it's like, you don't really want to do EHCP. Carry on sticking at the mainstream school. But, I want the EHCP and to be at the mainstream school, which of course you can pick which school you want to do as long as the local authority feel that the school could meet the needs. But based on that argument, I would have thought that, well, that's definite then, because they say it's better for the child to stay there. And I don't think Alina is... she has autism, and possibly originally she was global development delay, but she's very intelligent. She learns things. She can edit videos or source material. Mask things, cut it out on a YouTube, upload it, and do all these things. Put voices, sound effects, and all that kind of stuff. Change the tempo. She's exploring. She's very, she could do reading and even writing at 2 and 3, learning from alpha blocks and number blocks from BBC, CBeebies. So she likes knowledge. It's just she won't, if you sit there and say, show me that you can do this. She won't do it. That's the difference between a neurotypical and neurodivergent child. A neurotypical, they're malleable. You can train them to be able to regurgitate what you've just taught them, and therefore you can assess them. And that's the basis of the education system. But of course, for neurodivergence, it doesn't work that way because they may not want to. And so, they want to do what they want to do. And of course, in a world that we live in where freedom isn't really freedom. Anyway, I'm straying, I know. And then it carries on about this point about nationally, 96% of children attend school without an EHCP, even if they have special needs and disabilities, and that is emboldened. But I suspect that 96%, they're talking about all children, no neurotypical and neurodivergence. They're not saying 96% neurodivergence. They're saying all the children. But that's probably because, that doesn't, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It just feels to me that you're banging your head against a wall. No wonder so many parents complain about this thing. And I wonder whether, it says here, I just wonder whether they really do care about the concerns of children. I know things are all connected to money and things, but with education, and this is why there was a story about truant children being, to Keir Starmer today about, when they're, what's the word, not allowed to go to school anymore, they're kicked out of the school. I've forgotten the technical term for it. But it doesn't actually benefit by doing that because they were saying that 40% of people who end up in prison are because they've been kicked out of school. Because obviously, if you don't allow them to have an education, what else are they going to do? So it's not the right way to deal with this issue. I know, you've got to safeguard the children. Obviously, maybe we need more schools for children where if they're dangerous to themselves or others, then yes, they have to be taught somewhere else. But if it's just a small thing like not going to school and stuff like that, they should still be able to go to the same school, and the school should have to deal with it. Let's not put so much emphasis on, because they're all worried about their Ofsted, they're worried about their A's and C's and all that kind of stuff every July. What's more important is the reason why schools are there, to educate, so that people can, become, even though I don't believe in this, become productive for the world. For me, education should be about learning things so we can stop making the same mistakes and live a better life for each other, and humanity can live as one, but containing it in the system that we live within. So, I was just wondering whether this is this letter, which seems to suggest that it says that most children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities, SEN, will be supported in their local mainstream school without an education, health and care plan. So it's like it's suggesting that, schools are fine, they're able to deal with SEN children, but it's not my experience that I'm finding personally. Now, this could be due to the area that I'm in or the school that I've picked. So it may not be that every school or education system's like this, but they're telling me that they don't have the support because of money. That's what they seem to be suggesting to me, is funding. They're not, I don't know whether they have the training, I do question that, but I don't know whether they do have the training or not. But what they say to me is that they need more money so they can hire someone who can do one-to-one support with Alina. So therefore they're saying it's funding, the government's saying that, well, the school should be able to deal with it. So they think they're giving them enough funding, but that can't be true because they only give £4,000 to £5,000 per child, and it's the same amount. It's based on the numbers. It's not based on the needs of the children, which is what I want to change with Alina's help letter. Is that from now on they don't give just 4 to 5. They actually say, well, this child has ADHD, this has Asperger's, and do this kind of thing before they get to school. So that this 20-week process is, after three cycles of review and whatever that they do. So every child that goes through, that ever gets to EHCP, will eventually have lost 1 year of support. And how can you How can you, it's not quick enough. And so that's showing that system doesn't work because it's not benefiting those children. And so I want to play these two videos that I have. This one, let me see if I can do it. Oh, the other thing, because I hope this is still recording. I saw this because I wanted to see, is this true? And this is from Me Decoded. Neurodiversity inclusion has to start with education. And it talks about the Office of National Statistics recently released a report on an outcome for disabled people across all areas of life. The statistics show that people with disabilities are less likely to be employed, 52.1% versus 81.3%, and autistic people are the least likely to be employed, 22%. The report also highlighted that these inequalities start with education. People with disabilities are 2.5 times more likely to have no qualifications, 15.1% versus 5.4%. The difference in attainment are significant even when people are only limited a little by their impairment. In 2017, the statistics showed that the GCSE attainment level for students with SEN was 22.4% lower than students without SEN. To me, this highlights the impact of the SEN crisis and the failing of children with special educational needs and disability. And then it goes on about SEN, 12% of students receive SEN support and 3% have an educational health and care plan. The majority of students with the EHCP have autism recorded as their primary need. So, to me, that's saying that, the letter is saying to me that, kids without EHCP who even have a disability or SEND are perfectly fine in school. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case according to these statistics, because it seems to suggest that that these children that are at the school are not getting as good grades as their peers who don't have special educational needs. So the thing is, what they're saying is just close your eyes and forget about it. That's the thing I see with a lot of, when it comes to, let me get back to this so I can see this is recording, to these systems. It's fine, don't worry about it, carry on. And people carry on, and most people probably don't fight, and most people just think that, well, this is like we do with all life and all of our problems. When we come up and we see all these problems of the world that I talk about on this Pursuit of Truth, and that we all know, is we all say, well, this is the only way it can be, that kind of mentality, that kind of, it's all fine. Like this letter is saying that, most of these children, why are you applying for EHCP? Because most of these children, they do fine at mainstream schools. But when you look at Mumsnet, when you Google all these things of parents with children with different levels of autism, Asperger's or disability, they don't say any of these things. And yes, granted, they may, this is a way to sort of cherry pick, or they may be the only people that talk about these things because they have these grievances. And so it may not be a reflection of the truth. I don't know. But statistics, according to them, the people in power, they go by statistics, and that's their truth. Well, I've just read out some which seem to suggest that special educational needs people at school, mainstream schools, are underachieving. And why they're underachieving? Well, I believe it's simple. It's two things. It's to do with funding, and it's to do with the teachers and their knowledge or education. If teachers, and this is why I'm going to play this next thing on YouTube, if teachers don't have training for how to deal, how to bring out the best of autistic or Asperger's or disabilities, then obviously it's the same as if you have a teacher who's teaching maths and got an F in maths. That's why personally I would prefer, although I'm not brave enough to do it, when you go to these parents' evening or when you go to a school, I always joke with my wife that I'd like to ask them, what did they get at school? What was their GCSE or their A-level or their degree in maths and English, whatever subject they're teaching? Because I suspect we would be horrified at the truth. You'd probably find a lot of them didn't get that great grades, and yet they're the ones teaching our children. Because at the end of the day, this is how the world works. It's about getting a job and getting money, and it's not really about the best people doing the best jobs. That only works in private schools. So, yeah, let me just play you this video because it Because, this letter made me think that, that kids are doing fine. And I don't think kids with SEN are doing fine. And this is someone who's working at the council, who's a part of the children's department. And, well, they're lying to themselves, they're lying to us. Anyway, let me play the video. Hopefully it comes through. Let me find it for you. I'll have to keep that link. So this one's from YouTube. And it's from 5 News. Hopefully it will play through.
Let's play with my little eye, something beginning with B.
B. Oh, is it that bush?
No.
It's the middle of the day and 8-year-old Ronan should be in the classroom. But his mum is teaching him at home now because she says the school couldn't cope with his autism. Ronan agrees.
I felt sad and unsafe, and it was the worst place in the world.
The worst place in the world. Ronan became frustrated, angry, and the teachers seemed unable to help.
And I got really tired that our concerns were always being dismissed and made to feel like there wasn't any issues there, but his struggles were very real. For an autistic child, perhaps, that can't sit still because they need to fidget to regulate their emotions, or can't give eye contact because it's actually painful. And so what ends up happening is they get told off, they can even be excluded from their peers or even activities that they've been looking forward to. And that in itself has such a negative impact on a child's mental health and well-being. And we're actually finding that it's caused a fair bit of trauma that we're having to unpick now.
We partnered with one of the UK's largest teaching unions for a survey of primary and secondary teachers in mainstream schools. Only 4% said neurodivergent pupils always get the support to which they're entitled. 43% answered rarely or never. Many put it down to difficulties obtaining assessments of pupils' needs and teachers and staff not receiving the appropriate training. Only 46% told us they have received specific training on teaching neurodivergent pupils within the last 2 years. 73% told us there aren't enough specialist teachers.
It's really disheartening.
The pressure of working with children with SEN or special educational needs is one of the reasons Jessica left full-time teaching.
You are working so hard to give these children the best opportunities and the best learning opportunities possible, but there's only so much you can do with the training that you've been given, the support you're being given. A lot of classes I've been into when I've been doing supply work, there's 25-50% SEND. That's a lot of children who are going to need IEPs, EHCPs, paperwork, following up with them, and it's draining, it's exhausting.
EHCPs are education and healthcare plans, documents setting out the extra support a child needs. Long waiting lists for assessments and diagnosis lead to delays in funding for schools to provide the help.
Not anger outbursts, but everyone gets angry, do you know what I mean? But
yeah. For Dean, who was diagnosed with autism at 10, a lack of support led to overwhelming frustration.
I would always resort to hurting people, trashing classrooms, and even trying to escape the school because I just felt like I was so trapped.
At first, he was banned from mixing with others at playtime. By 11, he was spending the whole school day alone in a small room.
I think the last issue was I had a fight with another pupil and then actually chased this boy around the school, and I was cornered by at least 5 teachers, and I think trying to push past them and things like that, but then they'd called my mum. I went home and that was the last time I ever went there. Yeah, from there it all went downhill. I was so depressed and I had problems sleeping, so I've been on that medication, and it took a big toll on me, my mental health.
Neurodivergent children are much more likely than their peers to be excluded. One recent study found 46% of children with ADHD had been excluded at some point, and 25% of those with autism by the time they were 14.
Children are being failed by the system, not because of the efforts of teachers, because teachers are working tirelessly to support those pupils. But as I say, without that additional support for pupils, it does make the lives of teachers increasingly difficult.
The union wants the government to publish a promised action plan, a green paper, addressing support in mainstream schools.
We've been hearing this now for months and months and months. And I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I know that's caused disruption, but actually these pupils get only one chance. It's vitally important that the government responds with real urgency to what is a growing and desperate situation for those pupils and indeed for their teachers.
Dean has discovered a talent for music. He was eventually found a place at a special school, did well in his GCSEs and has high hopes for the future. But he believes he should have thrived in a mainstream setting, and he wasn't given a chance.
So for some reason this can't record YouTube when I'm playing, so I'm just going to put the two videos that I wanted to see. So you've seen that video, which they seem to be suggesting this is the NASUWT a union. Obviously they're not going to attack their teachers, but I stand by the statement that I suspect a lot of teachers, I know because I was a student, and I know how some of the teachers were really, really good and some of them weren't, and we all know that, and I suspect that is the problem, but that's the system we live with, and that's why I always call for the system to change, the whole system of how we live as human beings, how we divide ourselves up, money and all that kind of stuff. That if you want to hear that, you can listen to these other Pursuits of Truth that I do. And, because that's our problem. What is the reason why the school system is this way? It's because of money, because we have to have money for things, and they're going to say, well, they don't have enough money for this, they have to have money for, other things. And so children's education, because everyone has to suffer somewhere, isn't it? If you rely on money and you don't have enough money, and everything has to have money, well then, that kind of system is not going to benefit humanity, because you're limiting ourselves on something that isn't real. Money is a man-made construct of how we barter and deal with things, but it's not a system that needs to be in place for humanity to survive. It actually is a problem for humanity. If you get rid of money and we did things for each other, I know now people are going to say, oh, you're a communist, you're a socialist. Well, I'd rather be that than someone who relies on money, and, for the vast majority of human beings, it doesn't benefit them. If it doesn't benefit each one of us, it's a rubbish system, isn't it? Especially, well, not if it's one or two, but this is millions of people around the world that this is affecting, and this is just one area. There's lots of areas that I talk about in Pursuit of Truth where money is the main cause of the problem, the lack of it usually, and this is a slavery we're putting on ourselves, the handcuffs we're putting on humanity unnecessarily. If some alien came and visited us, they'd ask us, why are you letting people die? Why are you not giving people a great education, doing all these things? Why are you fighting over bits of land that you can never really own? Does it take someone of superior knowledge from outside to tell us what we all know and we all should know, and we should have done something about a millennia ago? So anyway, so that first video showed you that according to the teachers, they're suggesting that they don't have the support. They didn't mention what support meant. I assume it meant money. And whereas the child services are suggesting that, well, no, the school should be able to deal with this. They are dealing with this perfectly fine, even though, I've read out the statistics where SEN children do not get good results, and SEN children also do not end up getting employed as much as neurotypicals in both counts. So what may be good for someone is not good for everyone. I mean, it depends what you classify as, okay, isn't it? So the next video I'm going to play from you, it was some Sky News today, and this shows you, this child had a problem with speaking, had a problem with reading, writing at a late age, but I was able to become the first, I think it's the youngest black professor at Cambridge University, obviously a very renowned university in the UK, even worldwide. People know of Oxford and Cambridge. And yet he couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't speak, at the right ages. He was diagnosed with, same as my daughter, with global development delay and autism. And yet, look, because he was lucky with the people that he he had around him, that whoever it was, the teachers or whoever it is, able to unlock that. And now he is, when you hear him speak, he speaks better than most people. He says words that most people wouldn't understand what they mean. He has a great vocabulary for someone who, at school must have failed for a long time and probably was written off as like, this child's never going to attain anything. And now he's a professor at Cambridge, and that shows you, like I said previously, everyone has a place on this world that we found ourselves upon. Everyone has a gift that they can use if that love is put in. So imagine, if the government, hopefully they'll leave my letter and they would make a change. I suspect they won't, because I'm just one person. And I've been trying to get the organisations like National Autistic Society, MenCap, Child Autism Awareness, can't remember what the other one was called, to try and get them to support the letter, to add a paragraph themselves, to give it a bit of weight. And even there, I'm struggling to get them to come around and give help and support, or give me advice, or give me a paragraph, so it gives the letter a bit of weight, because then it feels like, well, it's not just me. They want to back it, and you'd think they'd want to back it, because I thought they cared about autistic and SEN children, and it wasn't about just money and information and that kind of thing. They should be doing this. I shouldn't have to do this. They should be writing this letter every week to the MPs until they make the change. Bombard them until they make the change. Because your child is losing through this system of review and cycle and EHCP a year of support and education, and maybe a lot more down the line. So anyway, let me play this video, and then you can see how, with love and the right attention, every child can have a great education and a great life in existence.
First ever black professor at the University of Cambridge. Pleased to say that he's with us now. Hello to you, Professor. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Are you well?
Very well. You look very well as well. Tell me your story. What happened?
I guess the short version is, one, thank you very much for having me here. And the second part of that is I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder when I was 3. So a hybrid of autism, Asperger's syndrome, and global development delay. And I guess it's been well kind of publicised now, but I didn't learn to speak until I was 11, and I didn't learn to read and write until I was 18.
So tell me about you being a little boy though, and what was going on in your mind at that time.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I think people tend to think with neurodivergent children is that it's a disadvantage. And while I wouldn't want to trivialise the difficulties that come with that, for me, it was there was a beauty in the paralysis of speech. Not being able to be vocal and, I guess, converse with people in what is seen in a more conventional way. I was able to absorb the world and construct my reality in a different way, really through the efforts of my mother and my friends and family around me. So
what happened when you were 18? What was the switch?
The switch was, if I'm being absolutely honest, I was very fortunate to have 2 really influential people who were a massive stimulus in terms of helping me with my reading and writing at that time, and they really garnered in me this sense of belief, this sense of achievement, or this sense of kind of progression in terms of what I could do. And in that respect, their belief in me was boundless, and I became, in some respects, I guess, more and more confident, and was able to kind of reach small milestones and then progress from there.
And tell us your journey from being 18 to today.
I mean, to be honest with you, Kate, it's been quite helter-skelter. The journey from 18 really has been kind of a story of madness in some respects, a lot of luck, been very fortuitous to have some amazing people around me who have really supported me, cradled my ambitions, held my hopes and fears, and have really allowed me to progress. And I guess the part that maybe underpins all of that is kind of this unrelenting determination. In some respects, I have been relentless in terms of wanting to make something of my life, recognising that I had very modest capabilities, But if I tried as hard as I could and was fearless in doing that, I may be fortunate to arrive at a destination, and I find myself sat here with you today.
Well, modest capabilities. You're the youngest black professor at Cambridge University. What do you say to your students? Do you tell them the story?
No, I don't. Seldom do I ever tell students the story. I haven't really even told people close around me the story. I think it's obviously become publicised now, but one of the things that I would emphasise, particularly to all people, particularly neurodivergent people, is that how we construct the world is often seen as subnormal in many respects, and I think finding a way to embrace that difference from a neurodivergent point of view becomes important. And if I was going to relay any message to students, it would be that, we all bring different things to these spaces.
What's the next milestone? What's next for you?
The next milestone, I wouldn't call it a milestone per se, it's a continuation of the work I always did. So most of my work has always been around really promoting and trying to emphasise the democratisation of education and the redistribution of resources to those most in need within our society. So it's really a continuation of that work and really providing a platform for black and ethnic minority and underrepresented academics within UK academia, with a particular focus on centering black women who make up a very, very small percentage of the professoriate. So there are many black female academics that are a lot more able, talented and gifted than I am, but the structures that remain in place secure them from being in a position of one, the professoriate, and two, progressing through the academy. So it's really a continuation of the work I've been doing over the last 10 years and finding better mental health mechanisms for black and ethnic minority people and underrepresented people, generally speaking, within the intersect within the UK and global academy.
How proud is your mum of you?
I think my mum is tremendously proud,
I bet she is.
and so is my dad. But I think my mum in particular, because her efforts, really, without her efforts, I wouldn't be sat here now.
And you are. And it's great to have you. Come back anytime you would like to. And good luck with the next steps on your journey.
Thank
really
you so much,
appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. That's it from us for this.
So you see, there you go. So that's the video, and well, there's not much more for me to say. You can see the importance of education, the importance of us having the right systems in place. If we only have one existence, we only have one life. And it's our duty, each one of us, to our children and those younger than us, to give a better world for them than the one that we found ourselves upon. So when are we going to make the change? When are we going to, have like this like people in power sort of turning their eyes to things and thinking everything's fine the way it is, when they must know it's not. If I can make these 600 pursuits of truth and see all these things, see that money doesn't benefit humanity, and the way that we live, the way that we divided ourselves and the borders and all that thing doesn't benefit humanity and causes more troubles like wars and money causing crime and all that kind of stuff. These root issues. If we acknowledge the truth, the fundamental only truth, that we're all one, we're all human beings, we're all connected by that, and that we should all be joined for that and be endeavouring to live our lives to the best existence for each other, rather than cutting ourselves up by surname, by country, by patriotism, by groups and all that kind of stuff. And that we have man-made concepts like money and all these other things to control us, to keep us in this pen, rather than us all working together, competing. I don't know. Anyway, that's my bit said. What's your view? Please share this video. I don't care about views. It's not that reason why I'm asking you to do it. It's because I want this to make a difference. Maybe someone who listens to this will have that power. Maybe that professor will listen to this and he will help me, or help autistic and neurodivergent people who are in the power, who will hear this and think, yes, let's get rid of money, let's get rid of borders and systems and control and power and authority, and us all dressing up and making, pretending that we're playing a game out of our existence. and actually do things for each other and for the benefit of humanity. And anything that's not for the benefit of humanity, we stop doing. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.